Hey guys, thank you so much again for tuning in to another episode on Andertons TV. And today it is a huge honour to have in the room Mr. Tim Renwick.
Well, the honour is all mine.
You're so kind to say so. And not more so, as I was explaining to Tim when I first met him, that my sort of revelation moment when at 16 years old, my dusty acoustic guitar in the corner suddenly became much more important to me and guitar than it had been before, was when my girlfriend at the time said, you really should, you've got to see this DVD or whatever, VHS it probably was at the time that I've got, of the Delicate Sound of Thunder concert, which was, if you're not familiar, was Pink Floyd's first big sort of post Roger Waters gig.
Resurgence,
It was
re-emergence,
and but it was like nothing I'd ever seen before in terms of a light show and a laser show. And was it Docklands, wasn't it? I think, or Canary Wharf, or something.
I think it was actually Long Island. I thought
it was London.
I think we did it 4 nights in Long Island, which we helicoptered out to. It was very, very
Look
exciting.
at that! I didn't even get the city wrong. I got the whole country wrong. But it was a spectacle that I'd never seen. And
but the thing is, you're not alone there, because I didn't see it either until, because you're kind of unaware of.
I bet.
Of what's going on, and particularly the lights. You had no idea what was going on with the lights and even the colours and stuff. So it wasn't until years later when I actually watched the video myself.
It was huge. They put together a fabulous band. You know, obviously you had the 3 remaining members of Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
But then what was it? Was it Guy Pratt on bass?
Yeah.
And Gary Wallace, I think. I mean, it was like, and of course yourself on guitar. It was just like a who's who. And if, as an introduction to Pink Floyd, it was just like, I still think for me, it was the best performance of those songs that I ever heard of. Yeah, because I got heavily into Pink Floyd after that, listened to lots of stuff going back to, the sort of the Colosseum stuff, and went to see Pink Floyd a couple of times when I was a bit older, and I just don't think that. I think that was the pinnacle of people. I guess people will disagree, and Roger Waters fans will certainly disagree.
Yeah, well, the thing is, with Roger's obviously gone out and done his, the Wall thing and everything, but that's very much of the and fantastic stuff. But it's very much of like this generation's. The technology is completely different and everything. But I think the way that the Floyd thing, that when I was involved with it, it was like it was pretty much the biggest thing I think that could have been done at that time with that. The amount of technology and stuff. Computers were in there. We had like over 60 computers running various things, and one felt a bit like a very, very small cog in a massive, great machine. But
Well,
it's an extraordinary experience.
I'm pretty sure you had a red Fender Strat. I'm pretty sure anyway, and it certainly left a huge... I'm still pinching myself now that I'm literally sitting in the same room with someone that was in that band at that time that had such a profound effect on me musically. So there we are. I shall try not to gush. And but can we... I mean, obviously I didn't know who you were at the time, and in the run-up to this interview, I obviously looked a little bit more at your kind of career, and it's not bad, is it? I mean,
it's mixed. It's mixed.
Well, I think you are being very modest. But can we go back to tell us about even life as growing up? Was it a musical family? Were you always around?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Well, my family were they're all involved in music, but it was all classical music, and I started playing the clarinet and experimented with cello and various other instruments. Didn't really it was the problem was it was school instruments put me off just about everything. But there was a local band that played in our village hall in Cherry Hinton in Cambridge that turned me on to, it was basically the Shadows stuff.
Right.
And I just thought, electric guitar with that, what's that river, that echo, that's fantastic. That's what I want to do. So that was really the driving force. So.
But you had a supportive sort of mum and dad with regards to...
Not at all, no.
Oh, really?
No.
You were the rebel, were you?
Yeah, it took me 2 years to get my dad to very grudgingly buy me an electric guitar.
He just saw the path to ruin of drugs and all sorts. Because at that time, I guess the guitar was...
It was a novelty, see.
Okay.
Yeah. What are you going to do when you're 25 is the thing. Well, that's when I started thinking I wanted to do it. So, there was nothing else I wanted to do. But yeah, what are you going to do when you're 25? You've got to think ahead and get qualified and
so
all that usual old stuff.
When you got your guitar, was it very much a question of teaching yourself, or were you lucky to have someone that you could get some lessons from?
No, it was Radio Luxembourg.
Awesome.
Under the blankets late at night, transistor radio. Before, and I think it was a wonderful training, and I've heard a few people say the same thing. The fact that it was before electronic tuners and it was before click tracks and things like that. So everything was you only got 1 minute. Yeah. Which someone pointed out to me subsequently. They only ever played a minute of anything.
Really?
Because before, if you've played more than a minute, you had to pay
the royalties on it.
Yeah.
So that was how all the pirate radio stations operated, was it?
Yeah.
Was it pay a minute? But I suppose in those days as well, most of the tunes were all like 2-minute pop songs anyway. So at least in a minute you get half the song anyway.
Yeah, the intro, verse and chorus. And then, yes, also they had a playlist so that if you waited for an hour, the song would come round again. Another chance to have a go, And I had this plastic guitar with 4 strings on it, 4 little nylon strings, and I just learnt what what the tuning was, the top strings of the guitar. Yeah. So it was pretty good on the top 4 strings. It's kind of stayed with me, really. But eventually managed to get this no-name blonde semi-acoustic guitar, which I was really thrilled with, until I managed to actually afford to plug it into, found an amp. Yeah. And then I realised it just screamed and horribly, it just sounded awful. So, basically moved on from that, and local bands and all that sort of stuff. But I basically taught myself. Yeah. There was nothing really going on. I mean, there wasn't even a guitar, because my brother is a classical violinist, and at the time, there was no actual sort of course that you could do in London at a music school. It didn't even, because even then it was, Spanish guitar, which I think they sort of took to mean flamenco, so it didn't really, there was no way you could actually get any formal tuition at all. So,
and did you get to an age where you just thought, I've got to leave Cambridge and move to London, I need to be part of a scene, or how did that work?
Well, very, very early on, yeah. And playing with a local band that basically, we started just playing like London clubs and things, so it made sense to be in London, or So I kind of moved there and struggled. And
do you remember? Because I mean, I would have loved to have been around in that scene, but it seems from what I've read and what I've heard from, my granddad was a drummer, and my dad as well, all in that sort of fantastic sort of 60s kind of era. And it certainly seems that it wasn't a massive scene, so everybody kind of knew everybody. I mean, did you fall in with other successful? I'm thinking of, I don't know, like Jim Sullivan or Jimmy Page or Clapton. They were all kind of on that scene, or
they were kind of pretty much established before. Before,
right.
And I was just sort of a little snotty kid at that point when they were kind of doing their thing. But no, basically moved into a little house full of bedsitters in Ladbroke Grove, and so there's quite a few. There was a bit of a, you know, a vibe, Quintessence, and various, you know, Mighty Baby and the Pink Fairies and the Social Deviants and all those sort of things, you know. So
great band names.
yes, and before that I was with a group called Junior's Eyes. That we did a lot of gigs all over the place, a lot of stuff in Europe. Played the Star Club in Hamburg. So that was kind of, you know, kind of apprenticeship time, really.
All original stuff or doing covers?
It was original. Yes, it was the leader of the band
kind
was.
Of stuff, or?
We used to do, our set was like 3 numbers. Yeah, it was psychedelic, jam time. And a guy called Mick
3
Lane.
20-minute numbers, was it?
Well, yeah, or even longer.
Even longer.
Yeah. And yes, we basically played until we all started to fall to pieces. And the leader of the band, Mick Wayne, was ordered by his doctor to stop because he had a bad back and stuff. So you can't travel in a transit van. We were just driving all over the place, and, you know, the old days when you could kind of play 5-6 nights a week, you know.
Yeah, 2 or 3 times a night.
For next to nothing. But, you know, I'm quite happy to do that. And gradually I sort of slipped, well, that was Junior's Eyes, and that became Quiver when that split up. There's a couple of people locally that lived in my house, actually. Decided to... So we started Quiver, and it was the usual story. We did the first 6 months, we didn't get a fee. We just played for nothing everywhere. So in order to get started, which you just have to kind of do anyway, really. I think people still have to do that.
Yeah, it's that hot. It is a tough gig, isn't it?
It is tough. You've got to really love it.
It's how you got to cut your teeth, isn't it? I think. And I think sort of sometimes what I admire most about people who start is that sacrifice. Is that okay? This is it. I'm going to live in a van or on a couch and eat beans. For a year or 2 years.
Well, I'm so glad I didn't take my parents' advice and get a job in a bank, because that's what they would have loved. You know, something nice, solid, regular. But so, and then during that time, I kind of got into doing sessions for people. Ian Matthews and Al Stewart, notably, to start with, and then a few other kind of folky sort of things. For some reason, I kind of slid into this sort of...
Yeah, what do you think got... You know, I'd certainly... I can't remember who it was now, whether it was Jimmy Page or... You know, fundamentally, they sort of say at that time, if you could sight read, that was the sort of the critical...
Well, very, very few people could, which is another thing that sort of was handy. I mean, having played the clarinet, I didn't get too scared if someone put a chart in front of me, so I knew about, you know, basically how that sort of worked. But people didn't really write parts for guitar,
right?
Because so few guitarists actually could sight read, and in fact, as Ray Russell told me, he said, "Don't ever be alarmed if someone writes something. Just play whatever you feel like, because 9 times out of 10." It'll be better than what they've written anyway, which is invaluable advice.
Absolutely, I think that's just life advice, isn't it? It looked like you know what you're doing, and you'll be fine.
And it was a sort of, try that. Have a listen to this. I think you might like it, you know, and just play what you feel.
So where did it go? I mean, where are we at now? We sort of are we late 60s, early 70s, or
early 70s probably?
70s?
Early 70s Quiver. And then the Sutherland Brothers, we joined up with them and had a bit of success there, and did some big touring with Elton John, our first thing.
Wow.
We were very, very lucky, actually. Our first sort of sessions, we did, I think 3 of the tracks we recorded did very well. And we had a top 20 single in America, and the album, which is a compilation thing of stuff that we'd done with them and previously recorded things that the Sutherlands had, that went into the charts as well. And we did a 60-date tour with Elton John. All stadiums, the Yellow Brick Road tour, which was like, you know...
Was that wild?
It was fantastic. I mean, you know, we flew every day, you know, it was one of those, like, baptism of fire. Because I hated flying to start with.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I suppose it's not quite... The luxury of first-class travel wasn't quite the same then.
Well, no, it was just so, you know, so
all the
kind
time
of...
zones and
it was mad.
Messed you up.
And it was up at 7 in the morning. I mean, Elton had his own private jet, but we were flying commercial, so we were sort of getting up... Get up! Everyone in the lobby at 6:30. We've got a flight to So, and some of the places we couldn't actually get to commercially. So Elton very sweetly let us travel on his private jet a few times, which is fantastic. You know. So I mean, that was all absolutely wonderful, and we, you know, as I say, we had some chart success. We were going around doing all the radio station interviews everywhere we went, and it was lovely. And I went home with a big pile of albums and
So it's a cash then, but just
no cash. But wonderful experience.
I bet it was. I can't. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to say before my time, but I was certainly, I was in my early childhood at that point. But looking back at, just some of that scene in the 70s, and it really was. Anything goes, wasn't it? And experimental, and
it was lovely and
fabulous artists.
But even then, it was just one night. It was all one-nighters. We didn't do any multiple dates at all. So it was boom, 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 boom. And very few days off. And but a wonderful experience. And as I say, we covered the whole territory and did all this stuff. Unfortunately, a year later, when our record company was changing its distributor in America, we went back there, much to our manager's, chagrin. He resigned afterwards. We went back there, and there was absolutely. We were playing these clubs to like 4 people. And
I can relate to that, though. In fairness,
but from one extreme to the other, it was literally. Did you let the dog in free? It literally was. We had 1 or 2 dates where there was like 7 people. And no promotion.
It was really badly promoted. Yeah,
nothing at all. It just dropped like a hot brick.
Yeah,
it was us and Spooky Tooth actually, because we were with Island, and which had been previously distributed by Capitol Records in America, and then they were going independent, setting up their own thing.
Yeah.
So of course, bad time to tour.
Sure. So did you make a conscious decision then after that maybe your own band wasn't the way forward, and that actually sort of life as a more of a hired gun was going to be more the way you try and pay the bills, or what was?
Yeah, I think I became we did work to do a lot of stuff with the Sutherlands. But I realised that of course they're both writers, and particularly Ian, who used to write tons of stuff. He would go into record an album, he'd have like 80 songs, and so I quickly became aware that I wasn't going to actually get any writing, and I did actually do a couple of sort of instrumentals and things like that, which but I just thought, well, I actually really I'm going to need to spread my wings a bit. So I left the band in the end of 1976, and went for sort of freelance, which was actually worked out really well. So lots of stuff happening. Did a load of stuff in Florida with the Bee Gees, not so much with them exactly, but with people that they were working with. Barry, basically, Barry Gibb producing other artists, and I did Andy Gibb. Went over and did a 6-week tour that turned into 6 months. We had 3 number ones in a row, and all that sort of. It just
And this was recording and live, or
both. At that time. They took the band that did the recording. We said, we'll take you guys on the road, and Screaming Kids and all that sort of nonsense, which was actually great for us because they didn't bother us. They were just interested in Andy's, underwear, what have you. But so the band, we were sort of untouched by.
I can't imagine. So
and then, really weird.
And then I guess from then on in, that must have been wild. Were you doing any of the actual Bee Gees hits, or did Andy have his own sort of?
No, he had his own repertoire, but it was largely written by Barry.
Right.
For him.
Yeah.
And so shadow dancing.
You just forget, don't you? I think. Well, I say you. I mean, I think generally. You hear all these songs and you go, oh, that's another Bee Gees cover, and that's a Bee Gees cover, and you just go, oh man, the catalogue was
there's
just
a lot
insane of hits, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So then where from sort of big teeth, hairy chested.
Yeah, from the enormous hair, the enormous hair to. Well, I came back and I did start to do all kinds of sessions.
Yeah.
And I did some most peculiar things. I had kids records, BBC stuff, some film music. I mean, just a whole
just pay the bills, just
exactly.
do the stuff,
whatever was, they put phone a ring, I'd go, so whatever it was, and it was great. So you got to meet all the guys, and make contacts with all these sort of people, lots of record producers and engineers and studios and all that sort of stuff.
Did you miss the touring, or are you quite comfortable, sort of, whether as long as you're working, you're kind of comfortable?
It was quite nice having a mix of the two. You quite often find that there were certain guys that would not go on road. There's no point in going on the road. My wife would leave me. No one would ring, which is very true. Once people know you're out of town, that's it.
Right.
And there was one situation where I was working with Elton John and we were on the road and we were supposedly doing a 2-year double world tour. And after about 3 months, poor old Elton got fed up with it and decided we'd done 50 dates and we were halfway through an album, his least successful album ever, called The Fox, that no one's ever heard of.
Right, yeah.
And poor Elton just threw a big wobbler one day, and that was it. He was on the floor and screaming and did a full old
Please tell me in a massive sparkly suit as well and gigantic glasses.
No, I
and
think
like
he was
6-inch platform.
I think he was toned down.
Oh, okay.
You know, for the studio.
I just want to see that image of the massive Elton tantrum, just like.
Oh no, it was great. But the thing is, it was a particularly bad situation.
Yeah.
There was tantrums going on all over the place. I seem to remember the record
He was having a
producer.
tough time, I think, generally, personally, at that time.
That's
really,
right.
So it probably didn't.
He wasn't working anymore with Bernie Taupin at that particular time, and that all kind of went a bit pear-shaped. And for many reasons, the record producer was having a sort of pitched battle with the engineer at the time throughout the whole. It was just a whole.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
Oh yeah, it got a bit silly. And in the midst of all this, I got this call from my manager, who was actually my old manager from the Sutherland Brothers days. He said, "Oh, you never guess what's happened. They've cancelled the whole tour." And I was the only one that knew about this. So I was in the middle of these sort of really dodgy recording sessions that everyone was having a bad time doing. Thinking, what do I do? Do I tell everybody? I can't possibly.
Did you have a contract though for the? No. So that's it. Tour's over. Just the 2 years work you thought you were going to have.
So then I was, back home trying to explain to people. No, it all got blown out now. So I've got nothing. There's nothing going on. I mean, I've got some work.
Yeah, absolutely. Any children's songs you want me to?
So embarrassing. Yeah, I'll do anything.
Yeah.
Can I change the strings for you?
Oh man. I think that's a really interesting one, because I think the life of the life of the session or the touring guitar player is the reality, isn't it? You are not the celebrity centre of attention. You are, as you say, if you've got to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get on the bus, or and you're in crappy accommodation and as you say, and you get treated badly by the management company, and the tours get cancelled, and it's just.
Although sometimes it can be absolutely fabulous.
Yes, that's true. Of course,
but
you wouldn't do it if it was all.
You have to retain this germ of, I'm just here because somebody else wasn't available, or I got on well with the guy doing the sound. Someone's recommended me. I don't know why, and it could all stop tomorrow, and sometimes it does. Yeah. And so. So you have to kind of come to terms with all that. And,
being a nice guy appears to be, obviously the talent is a prerequisite, but it does seem to me that the guys that have had an ongoing successful career of working as a I hate the word hired gun, but
you are basically, aren't you?
But I do think it almost always comes down to it's just certain artists just like you. He's fun to be around. Have a good time when you're in the studio.
A big part of it is being able to get on with people and being, not an arsehole. Can I say arsehole?
You can, absolutely.
Yeah. Not an arsehole.
Yeah.
So one tries not to be. At least I can be an arsehole at home, kicked by dog. But as long as you just basically is part of just give and take.
So you had then a period in your career where sort of you played with two of my favorite artists. So you did some stuff with Eric Clapton, and then into the Floyd thing. So can we talk about how did that come around? And because at that time as well, Eric wasn't. Let me just get my chronology in terms. He'd been having a tough time as well. He wasn't sort of super flavour of the month, was he? At that sort of.
No, well, he's had a remarkable career considering he was so young when he sort of started off and got that sort of fame and adulation and being called God, I suppose, is.
That's quite a compliment. That one, is it? Where'd you go from there? It's like.
Oh God. Okay, well, better grow a beard for a start. But it came about through. Strangely enough, doing a tour with Roger Waters.
Oh, okay.
I did his very first Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking tour, which is his first solo tour. Having sort of been, from Cambridge, so there was connections going back, whatever. I went to the same school as Roger and Storm Thorgerson and Sid Barrett.
Right, okay.
In fact, way back there. In fact, Sid Barrett was my patrol leader in the school scout troop.
Hopefully it was, well, I don't know.
Which is extraordinary.
It's a sorry story, isn't it, about Sid, but yes, I mean, quite a few of those guitar players at the time took a few things that they probably shouldn't have and were never quite the same again. But
yeah, no, he got in with a bad crowd, as they say.
Yes. But I didn't realise you'd done some Roger Waters stuff as well. That's cool.
Yeah, that was the album which Eric had played on. So,
right.
And he said, right, when we do the album, Roger, I'll be playing guitar on that. You know, I'll be doing the stuff.
Yeah.
And so I got, you know, very happily invited to do. I'm not quite sure why, but anyway, I ended up doing the bits nobody else wanted to do. Bit of guitar, bit of bass, and and so we got on. The band got on really, really well. I think Eric sort of fell out with Roger.
Right.
Roger didn't like the way that, particularly in America, the crowds would all stand up with their lighters every time Eric took a solo.
Right.
Bless him. You know, he fabulous, great. Everyone, yeah. You know, and then they'd sit down again, and Roger and Karen.
Two big personalities in the same band there, isn't it? Difficult one, that one. Don't know if they ever really work out.
And Roger did, on a couple of occasions, point out to the audience that the songs were very, very personal to him, and he wanted people to listen to the lyrics and not make too much noise while the songs were going on. You know, it's like...
Yeah. He is such a phenomenal songwriter.
Yeah, he's genius.
Difficult... I listened to a Desert Island Discs of Roger being interviewed recently, although the interview wasn't recent, and I liked him much more after that. I thought he came, perhaps with age, he's mellowed. He's obviously, but certainly I think
he probably has.
I think back in the Pink Floyd days, I was sort of, you know, I did think the band performed better without him. I know it's not a horrible thing to say. It's only my opinion, I suppose. But clearly, I don't think they ever wrote. I don't think they ever wrote a song after he left that could hold a candle to the songs that they were writing when he was in the band.
This is it. He was a great ideas man and a great lyrics man. And before that tour, I'd spent. I used to go over to his house, and he said, "I want someone to go through all the material so I can decide what I want to do," and you know. And so I went over, and that was my job, to go through all this back catalogue, which at the time was 11 albums. So I went through and wrote everything out with these charts out, chords. And we went through all that sort of stuff. And of course, when it actually came to it, we just did the new stuff, really. But he wanted to go through all the stuff. And he was the most gentlemanly, sweet bloke. The moment we got on the road, he became...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very autocratic about how he wanted
very difficult.
done.
And I think he found, I'm sure he probably would admit, he found great difficulty in actually delegating anything. So he had to be on top of everybody. Sound, light, special effects, musicians.
Yes.
And if he spotted anything wrong, he would be very, very vocal in.
It's much more than a song, though, isn't it? A Pink Floyd album is much more than a song. I can completely understand that from his perspective, he was seeing something much greater, a much more dramatic experience than just you know.
Yeah, and it
8 or
was
9 songs.
It was
on
deeply personal to him. The majority of that.
Yeah.
You know, so particularly obviously when it comes to his solo album, you know, it's all very deeply, you know, possibly didn't make a lot of sense to anybody else, but he was very, very, you know, and there was. He was quite difficult. I say he wasn't fun on the road, bless him. I don't know whether you're supposed to be. But, you know, there's 1 or 2 people I've worked with that haven't been fun on the road. But,
it does strike me that even Dave Gilmour, when you hear him being interviewed, he sounds like a pretty serious, you know, very pleasant chap, but not necessarily somebody that you could see sort of, I don't know, larking around and having a mess and a joke, and perhaps he is behind the scenes, but his sort of, he obviously is.
He can do, yeah.
But he doesn't. He comes across as very, very straight and sort of, you know,
cerebral. But yeah, no. But the first big tour that we did with the new version of Floyd was Party Time.
Oh, okay.
Frankly, yeah,
Good.
It was Party Time. So yeah, everyone. Had a damn good time, I have to say. It was one of the most fun experiences of my life, apart from the fact that it was mega, you know, in terms of, you know, just huge. Staggering. Yeah. You know, just there was all these things happening that was going on.
You've signed some sort of non-disclosure agreement, have you? Sort of, or is this like life on the road? You can tell me after we turn the cameras off. Like,
I'll tell you later. No, I know quite often people say, Thomas, people say, you should write a book. I can't write a book. There'd be lawyers would be like banging on my door. I'm going to be sued rotten, it'd be terrible.
Definitely looking forward to when the cameras get switched off here. I mean, it's certainly... yeah, so I know we're just jumping back a bit. What was the stuff that you did then with Eric Clapton?
Well, it was part of a world tour that he was doing, and he decided on that world tour that he'd sort of fallen out, parted company with Albert Lee, who'd been with him for some 12 years.
Albert will be sitting there next week.
Will he? Well, do say hello.
I certainly will. Another one of my favourite British guitar players, but yes.
Phenomenal bloke. And so he decided to do this tour without a second guitar. He got a keyboard player in. Unfortunately, that didn't work. It didn't work out, and he got sort of, I suppose, about a third the way through this tour, and decided that he wanted to have another guitarist. And I just happened to be doing some sessions with Gary Brooker, who's a mate of his and sort of lived very locally to Eric. And Eric turned up, and I don't think he actually played. I think he just arrived. I'm not sure whether Gary had a word with him or something. But he said, "Oh, so what are you doing then? What are you doing?" So, well, I've just done an audition for Joan Armatrading. I'm going to be doing a year's tour with Joan.
Yeah, I tell you, this is bizarre. Another customer of Andertons who I think I saw...
Phil?
No, Joan Armatrading.
Oh, Joan!
Literally, I think she must live in Guildford because I see her in the store all the time.
Yeah.
Or she must live relatively good. I feel always bad because I don't think any of the other staff know who she is. Like we just have this little nod to each other like, I know who you are. You're all right, like that. But unfortunately, everyone else under the age of 30 probably does.
That's a nice place to be, though. It's a nice place to be. But I made two mistakes with Joan. I love her work and everything, but I did make the mistake of opening a door for her once at Olympic Studios, and I got the most horrible look.
I'll have to remember that. We've only got automatic doors at Andertons, so the doors do it themselves. Maybe that's why she looks at the door sort of disparagingly as it automatically opens. It's okay. I can do it myself. Anyway.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm quite capable of opening the door for myself. Thank you very much.
I've always thought she was lovely when she's been in here, but anyway.
Oh, she is. She is lovely. What was the other thing? Yes, I did this audition for her, and they said, "Yeah, well, you've got the job." That was replacing someone at the last minute, whatever. Alan Darby, I think, I can't remember. And so I said to Eric, "Well, I'm doing this. I've just done this thing. Literally the day before, I'd just been offered the job with Joan." He said, "Oh, that's a shame. I was going to offer you the job with me." I think. And at the time I said, "Well, I'm sorry. Oh dear, that's a shame, isn't it?" And I went home and I thought, "You fool! You can't possibly do. It's an impossible position.
Totally.
And that Eric Clapton, the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers album. That was the first album I ever bought. It was like, total hero. I'm totally not worthy." And so I rang him the next day. I rang his manager the next day. I said, "Look, Eric said, you might be interested in." So I would be.
Yeah.
And then rang Joan's manager, who was not very pleasant with me.
Damn. That's a toughie, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I guess that's another life of the session guitar.
Well, this
player,
is
isn't
it.
It's like
what do you do?
You've agreed one thing, and then the best gig of your whole life comes along, and you're just like, "Oh no."
So I'm sorry, I'm going to just have to be an arsehole here and do this because I'm never going to get asked
Never
again.
going to get asked again. No.
Yeah.
And look at what happened from then on in. So I think you've got to look back on this and sort of take it and say, well, yes. Oh well.
I'm a bit of an arsehole.
And is what's I mean, again, because I'm never probably going to get the chance to ask anyone else that's been on stage with Eric Clapton. What's that? I mean, is it just completely mental to be on a stage with effectively?
He's such a tough guy. He is such a tough guy. Yeah.
Because he wants the standard of the musicianship to be at a certain level.
He's very, very proud.
Right.
He's very, very proud. And at the time, I mean, I don't know, he might hate me for saying this, but he was having the odd drink. And there was the odd occasion where the rumour would go around, Eric's had the odd drink.
I think that's fairly well publicised, that period of his life.
No, he'd own up to that, I'm sure. And you think, oh God, I hope he's going to be all right. And you'd see him, he'd look a little bit grey around the edges. And then he'd play like a mother... those gigs, because he was just determined, right, okay, you all know I've been up all night and someone's been walking me around the room with a cold towel around my head. And then he'd absolutely tear it up. And those were the ones, and you just think, oh my God, you just have to hand it to him. You think, well, you or I would probably just be sick or something, cancel the gig. But he was just so tough, and I'm just sure he's just very, very proud, very strong guy, and it was very inspiring. And I found the same working with Elton John for different reasons, but he was so in there, you know, he just give it all. And because I subsequently played with his band, and there were a couple of occasions where he just passed out. It was just, you know, you're playing in kind of Houston, and 80 degrees, whatever, and yeah, he just kind of collapse, and then he sort of do a James Brown and go back on.
Man,
I mean, you know, just really just think, yeah, well, these guys, you know, they deserve. It's just tough as old boots.
Please write the book. Please write the book. I'll buy the first copy.
I
think it just sounds like, man. I mean, I can't. It's such an era, and as you say, the Clapton thing, and it's so well documented about his battles with drink and drugs and everything like that. And I always think it's kind of, you can't get away from artists like Clapton and Hendrix, and you know, in that if you take, and this is I don't know how I quite say this in a responsible way for young people watching, but if you take the drink and the drugs out of the equation,
who cares about the rock and roll?
No, you just end up going, would they have taken some of that explosive playing to the degree that they did, you know, and I suppose you'll never know, because it's just, there was it was a time and a place, and it was what it was.
And yet you've got sort of examples like Guns N' Roses where they're completely screwed because they actually did do all that stuff.
Well, I mean, for sure. I mean, and, you know, Eric's one of the lucky ones that's, you know, he's thank goodness, you know, still with us, and you know, has come through and looks in reasonable shape and everything. But
yeah, no, he's
there's
in
plenty
great
of guys
shape.
that didn't come through, and so there you go.
It's always been the way, hasn't it?
Yes.
The music, you know, the old jazzers, you know, the old.
Yes. Be careful, kids. Think long and hard about what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But look, so
distant
okay.
laughter.
I know it's so tough, and this is one of those sort of art and experimental drugs and things are. It's difficult, isn't it?
It is very difficult. Yeah.
Anyway, but look, so obviously I could probably talk about I'd love to. You could probably tell me every minute of the time you spent with Eric Clapton, and I'd be interested. But in the interest of moving this forward.
Well, hang on, I've got to say, Duck Dunn and Jamie Oldacre.
Wow.
So I've said it now.
What a band.
Duck Dunn, what a guy. I mean, what a bass player. Just absolutely. Anyway.
Was that the? I mean, if you could pick the one moment that if you could be, you know, that's it. You're a Groundhog Day, and you just have to have one day of your life over and over and over again. What would it be? Would it be a Delicate Sound of Thunder thing, or would it be the Clapton thing, or would it be something else?
There's a bit of everything, really. I've been so lucky to be involved in. I mean, the Live Aid thing in Philadelphia, which we did in the middle of Eric's American tour, would have been one of the highlights. But as it happened, there's a story attached to that, because we were in the middle of this tour, and our gear was in Texas or something, and this thing, it all happened at the very last minute. And so the management organised for everybody to write down all their equipment, or the wrote all the details of the equipment. So Jamie Oldacre had Yamaha set him up this beautiful, immaculate kit of drums, exactly the same specs as his stuff, you know. Yeah. Everybody had their own, of course we took our own instruments. I had this beaten up Marshall cab and a Space Echo, and I don't know quite, I just think it was a mind game.
Right.
I think it was a mind game. And I went on stage, because it was a revolving stage there, so, you know, we had to sort of check our gear out.
When you say mind game, you mean a slightly better known guitar player might have sort of elected to make sure that no one else had an amp that sounded as good as his, you mean?
Well, no, not for that reason. I just think it was like, give him a pile of old rubbish. See how he gets on with that. It's not going to make a great deal of difference at the end of the day. So anyway, we were all checking our gear out on the back of this revolving stage, and none of my stuff worked. And I had literally about 6 roadies, all kind of, you know, all the stuff that rose up. And we managed to just get it all going as the stage started to turn. So there I was in my street clothes, not that we'd notice it at all, particularly. Yeah. But I'd also missed the photo session with it. You know, they did a book with photos of all the acts.
Oh, what a drag!
And I didn't, because I was fiddling around with my stuff, trying to get it all working. And covered in sweat and.
At least there were probably 1 or 2 recordings of Live Aid, so you
Yes.
should be okay.
I know, I was just so hot, but yeah, that would have been one of them. Yeah, I think I mean, some of the Floyd gigs were absolutely stupendous. To be, you just think, here I was, pinch myself. I'm here, you know, it's fireworks.
And you got a fair amount of, you know, it didn't feel to me. I mean, I said I've only seen the video of it, but you know, they were quite gracious with the amount of sort of exposure that you weren't literally. Could you just stand in the dark over there and strum the rhythm chords, weren't you?
No, I did get a couple of solos and stuff. And Dave is a lovely. He's a really nice human being, and you know, and apart from anything else, he gives him a bit of a break, doesn't it? You know? let's throw the lights over there, you know. But no, tremendous fun, and there's lots of stuff that you know really enjoyed over the years. I mean, just very very lucky to. Done what I've done, really.
I'm sure luck plays a part in it, but you know, it's not all luck, is it? I mean, you've got to, as I said, you've got to have the skills and the social skills and everything to want to do this. I mean, it's again, I'm sure we'll talk for ages if you know the rest of the afternoon. I'll get round to why Tim is actually here. There's something else happening this afternoon later on, but. So after the Floyd thing, you know, where did it go from there? I mean, because although it doesn't. I don't know. It sounds awful, doesn't it? It doesn't feel that long ago, bloody ages ago.
It was
like
30
years ago or something.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
no, I returned to you know session work and what have you. I started actually. Well, I started before that, long before that. I had been recording my own library music for various publishers, so I kind of started to work a little bit more intensely on that. So you know, thinking from the point of view of pension scheme, not wanting to necessarily go on the road the rest of our life and all that sort of stuff. And so, I started to kind of do a lot more of that.
So it's just music that people can use in commercial stuff. And
music by the yard.
Yeah.
Which is actually quite interesting. I sort of stumbled into that by doing playing guitar for other people's library music albums, and got asked if I'd like to do one myself, and then that turned into another one, and then blah blah blah. So I've ended up doing about 30 albums.
Is there a particular sort of, like cat food commercial that you're really proud of the guitar playing part? Or is there nothing that you can go, that insurance commercial where the guy, that's one of mine? You haven't got one of those?
No, I haven't. I don't think I have. No, there was a few things that got used in old sort of, I had a Marlboro cigarette advert in Germany that did wonderful stuff. But no, it's basically people get, the usage is usually very, very small. So you get lots and lots of usages, but they're all little tiny ones. So you get 160 pages of royalty statement. You think, this is good.
Yeah.
Oh, 20 quid.
£2. Yeah.
It's all little bits, really, basically.
Fair enough.
But no, it's lovely. It's the only thing that I've come across that where they ask you to do it, you can actually you write the stuff, you record it, you pick the musicians you play with, you work the whole thing out basically, mix it and not master it, but basically do all the procedure without anyone breathing down your neck.
And have you got like a home studio now, and you do all this at home, so it's quite nice, sort of normal life and
it's Pro Tools and the usual.
Fair enough.
Everyone does.
Let's. I mean, forgive me if I've missed anything sort of really important during that, but post the sort of the Floyd thing, was there, has there been another sort of big collaboration or tour or artist where you've just gone, that was epic as well, or?
Well, not really. But I started because years ago did what I've done over the years. I've done about 7 or played on 7 albums for Al Stewart, and in the last few years I've been working with him again a bit, whenever he's come, because he's been living in America for the last 25 years. So I've been doing that, and we've done a couple of, Crop Ready Festival a couple of years ago, and we've done 3 Royal Albert Halls and Palladium. And last year we did 17 dates or something around here. Just that sort of, but enough to give you a bit of a taste. And it's actually it's nice to.
I bet it still is quite nice to just, as you say, those shorter tours as well, where there isn't time to get knackered and wrecked and pissed off with it all, and you can just enjoy it all. It must be nice to.
Yes, it is. It is good. And plus, if it's something that you've been involved with in the past and maybe played on some of the stuff originally, and so that's good as well. I sort of did the Year of the Cat and various sort of his earlier hits and stuff. So that was quite nice.
Well, let's talk about the tools of the trade.
Yes.
I mean, we are
now
we are clasping. This, so as many of you may know from a previous video that we've done, we've been working with a lovely chap called Tom Gray, who makes these amazing guitars called Gray Guitars. And today we're doing a launch in the store. Tim is here to help, and Graham Coxon is turning up shortly, and Tom will be here, and we're all going to be floating around the store just chatting to whoever turns up, assuming people turn up. I'm sure they will.
You never know.
It might be like one of those gigs that you did, the early Sutherland
with
gigs.
7 people. You never know.
6 of them will probably be ones with that Graham has restraining orders against, but we shall see. We shall see. But tools of the trade wise, I mean, obviously the Gray Guitars thing's what we're here to do today. But
Yes.
but obviously these guitars didn't exist back in the day. So have you always been a sort of a Strat man, or have you had a whole bucket load of different toys?
I've tried other ones. I've just, I think it's the one that you initially fall in love with, really. So my first proper guitar was a Strat. It was a red Strat.
That very Hank inspired, was it? Or
Was
was it later?
yeah. Well, Hank inspired me at the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
But then, of course, subsequently, you sort of go back to Hank. Okay, it's pretty damn good.
He was very good.
pretty damn good.
Yeah, shouldn't cooperate from the past.
And Bruce Welch as well.
Yes,
You come
absolutely.
to listen
They
to
can
his
all play.
rhythm stuff. It's very, very hot. But yeah, so I always felt comfortable with the Strat. Not so much the Telecaster, although they're a fabulous instrument. But I experimented with Les Paul and a 335 and blah, blah, blah. And for a while I had this Danish handmade guitar called a Morch, which I still have,
Okay.
which was kind of interesting.
Danish guitar, you are
Danish.
after the heart of our very own Danish Pete here. And that was what a Strat style guitar was, it? Or?
No, it was kind of odd. It was solid mahogany. It's probably lent more towards a Les Paul than anything else in terms of the weighty, with a scroll here.
Oh, wow.
And kind of chunky, but beautiful feeling neck and everything. Anyway, I screwed that up. I decided because the pickups were quite low level output, and I put some much more powerful. I better not say what make they were.
What EMGs or something
DiMarzios.
like that. DiMarzios, Floyd Rose tremolo system, absolute scallop the fretboard.
Yeah, basically screwed it up. And it just sounded horrible then, and having sort of routed out the body and everything, I was sort of, so it's sat in my studio ever since. But I should probably.
Have you always been predominantly an electric player, or
gone between the two really?
whatever it needs.
I love acoustic guitar.
You had a beautiful Takamine acoustic, I think, on the Delicate Sound of Thunder video. I've not watched it literally for years, but I vaguely remember you had Takamine acoustics, and I'm sure it was a red Fender Strat or a blue Fender Strat or something.
It was probably Under the Lights. It probably appeared to be that. Yeah, no, I had several Strat. I had a black Strat, I had a white Strat.
Well, they had all the lace sensor pickups on them or something.
EMGs.
Really? So was that because David has his EMG set and you had to have the same?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Because they don't pick up too much noise. Because there's so much gubbins going on.
Yeah.
That was basically the reason behind that. But I think that was. That's right. The one you're thinking of was a silver Strat.
Maybe it was.
That picks up the light.
Yes.
Whatever's shown on it, it'll.
Maybe
go
Dave
blue.
had the red Strat, but I just.
Dave had a red Strat.
I remember that from that video. But and so you've always been a kind of a Strat man, and obviously But and backline wise, I mean, have you had a preferred, or do you is it whatever's up there and?
I sort of bounce between whatever, On the Floyd thing, I was using one of Dave's old pedal boards, and I think 150 watt Fender head into a Marshall 412, which is all scrimmed off, so you couldn't see that.
Yeah.
And basically anything. Anything like that.
Were they all the sort of the enormous? Was it Pete Cornish kind of massive pedal boards that he used to do for David, and you'd have like, I don't know, 75 different settings.
They're
for
all
a single
stock
set.
boxes, and basically MXRs and a few things that Pete Cornish, his custom fuzz and things like that, all built in there. I actually had a very early Pete Cornish board, which I stupidly took down the dump and threw away. Because sorry guys, I know it was stupid, really stupid. I took it to someone to fix it, and they said, "Well, it's been damp, hasn't it? It's been exposed to damp." And I'd done a tour with Murray Head in France, which was like dripping, just with all these little theatres and everything. We were absolutely soaking with sweat and water going everywhere. And I think that's probably what did it. And basically, I was saying, well, it's not going to, You can't rely on this. It's never going. Of course, I should have just done it up. Really, should have replaced all the bits and stuff, and done, and it, instead of that, I threw it away.
I'm sure there are bucket loads of things that have been thrown away over the years that people wish they hadn't.
And of course, they make everything else more valuable, don't they? All the other ones.
Absolutely.
So I go to the Pink Floyd exhibition at the Victorian Albert. There's all these old Pete Cornish boards. I think, oh, you fool!
Yeah,
they don't even have to work. You could just put them in a glass cabinet,
Absolutely. But so now,
anyway,
I mean, so
sorry
would your no, it's fine. I mean, you were because we've got, you might see on the floor here, Tim's got Tom's pedal board, and I've got my just a usual. Can I just have some echo and some distortion, please?
Which I have to say, that's what I'm used to.
Yeah, and Tim, when he first came, he said, "I'd much rather have your setup if I could." So I take it, you just like the simple, just nice, good, clean sounding amplifier, nice sounding guitar, bit of echo.
Yeah.
Off we go.
I've got a reissue Fender Bassman, which I really like.
Yeah.
And I say reissue, it's about 25 years old, but that's really nice. And I've got, I think everyone's going towards smaller amps and things these days. I've got one or two, a little Laney and a PV Classic 30 and things. So, they're kind of, they're useful
good little
amps.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Bassman, I suppose. I remember being at a Fender organised event, and there was about 300 people in a reasonable size, like a conference room type thing. And the guy had a Fender Bassman, not mic'd up, literally could not get the volume of that Bassman up, above about 2. And you just go, it's just an amp of a bygone era, isn't it? It's just an amp that in the modern world is utterly unnecessary. But when you see a guy like, I don't know, you see a player that I don't know, I know it's not Bassman's, but when someone like Joe Bonamassa tours and he's got his half a dozen high-powered twins and they're all cranked and there's like 500 watts worth of Fender backline all go, and he starts playing and you just go, oh man, it is a sound. It is a crazy good sound. But where do you use that anymore? Apart from the Albert Hall.
I don't know. I mean, the Bassman is going to run on 3. It's just. In fact, I've heard them. Once you wind them up, they sort of fart a bit. They're not too. I found a little bit.
I don't know.
When they're,
really, really gun.
Yeah. So no, whatever. But it's lovely for a smallish room. Yeah. It's absolutely lovely.
So let's do the. So you're a. When did you first? You've been sort of family friends with Tom. For. Long time, since he was in short trousers.
He was short trousers. I was medium length trousers.
When he started making guitars, what was it about them that you liked, and you just thought, what, that boy, he's got something there.
This sort of thing. Look at the tiger stripes on that. Oh, is that lovely?
It's pretty special. That
basically, when Tom told me he was seriously thinking of building guitars for a living, I just thought he was completely mad. Totally mad. Okay, all right, jolly good, best of luck. But no, I mean, he's proved me completely wrong, because they're absolutely wonderful. Every detail has been attended to, and the whole concept of the British guitar, particularly now when Gibson are struggling and coming up with all kinds of weird, strange things. You think, well, that makes a lot of sense to make an instrument that's, where it's all British wood and it's British bits and British, made in Britain. Why not? And you can, plus with the situation financially, you can actually turn out something that's affordable.
Yeah.
That's like completely, handmade, hand-finished instrument. So, yeah, and I really
how long
been
have you had
impressed.
that one
from? Well, actually, this is one because I have a different one at home.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's the exact same thing. But I had a Strat, which had the same basic configuration of things. In fact, it had a roller nut bridge, but locking nut, humbucker there, got nicked. And I've never been able to find it, and I've never really found anything that. So when I thought, okay, Tom, make me that guitar that I don't have anymore.
Right.
Only, with even lovelier bits on it.
Yeah, I mean,
he has
this one here. I mean, this was almost like Tom's test for me, because I'd spoken to him last year about the concept, and obviously I needed to commit. I think in order to get the sort of the pricing of the guitars at the point where I felt that they'd be, I don't know,
competitive.
Affordable is the right word, but yeah, it's sort of in line with what customers could buy if they wanted to buy other brands. You know, the idea of Tom making the guitars one at a time wasn't the most cost-effective way to do it. So we had to order, you know, like 10 guitars or something. But I had my sort of test. It was like, right, first of all, though, you have to make a guitar for me. And if I like it, then we're going. And you've got to use some oak that I'd taken out of a fireplace.
No, I heard about this.
Yeah,
yes.
so this is, I mean, it's a little bit heavier than maybe...
I love that.
I know.
The grain there, it's just superb.
So this really awful old lintel came out from above the fire. Massive, this thing was. And it was wrecked and covered in, I guess, all sorts of stain and things. And so I gave him a lump of it, and I got this text message a few days later where he'd managed to cut it in half, sand it, and draw the pencil outline of a strap, and it looked fantastic. And I thought, ooh, this might look nice. And then it was so English ash neck, and I know it's not got the figuring but nonetheless I still love the figuring, and I love the fact it's got that sort of gunstock oil kind of feel to it.
Yes.
Plum fretboards. I mean, all these wonderful woods that you just think have probably, you know, they're all indigenous to the UK.
Yes, you've got the proper anglicised version. This is, I think, sort of Canadian.
That's probably Canadian maple, isn't it? The flame maple.
Baked maple. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. But the fact that you can buy these, you don't have to go for the American woods and sort of, you know, there's stuff available that will do the job just as well.
I think the bit that surprised me, and I think in a sense even surprised Tom as well, was that when we actually spoke to the sort of the timber experts, nobody could really come up with a compelling reason why everybody used these American timbers. It's just because they always have.
It's got to be
and it was like, well,
maple.
All these trees that grow in other, you know, in the UK are basically all part of that same family, and they've all got the same sort of properties. And it's just like you go, oh, well, we'll just use those then.
Maples,
you know,
sycamores,
like, exactly,
family.
sycamore. Yeah. So, oh man, well look. I'm so pleased that you could spare the time to come down today. It genuinely is like it's a tick on my list of people that I've wanted to meet. The stories have all been wonderful. Hopefully you guys, obviously this is where we get into this bizarre time machine, so you'll be watching this after the Grey Guitar event that we've got in the store this afternoon, but hopefully some of you have come to that and you've got to meet Tim as well, and play one of these wonderful guitars. I'll put links in the description below to where you can go and find out more about Tim and the work he's done in the past and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
But look, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honour. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing some of those stories about Eric and Pink Floyd.
In the
everything.
book?
Yes, well, just basically as soon as we turn the camera off.
All right, see. Yes, don't hold your breath for the book.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Well, look, thanks so much for tuning in, and we shall see you on another episode of Andertons TV sometime soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. life moment. That's the closest I'll get.
Probably the closest I'll get either.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hey everybody, thanks for watching the Andertons Guitar YouTube channel. If you're a drummer or a keyboard player or interested in music technology, you might find one of our other channels interesting, and I'll put details of those in the description below. If you want to find out more about the products we've just featured, please click here. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt like this, please click here. If you want to watch another video on our guitar channel, click down here. And to subscribe to our guitar channel, click here. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.